Rebuttal to government side. Before moving the subjective point, I must address the flaw in the government side. Firstly, the myth of the narrators. The government claim in the bottom history they empower medicine in reality. In the post-conflict state, people history often deeply partition. The men's freedom flight and others were criminal. Secondly, there is a radicalization by focusing individual or group. Again, you are not healing found. You are picking the tip of the conflict, giving local militaries the policy, the group platform, just past solution. And thirdly, the fragmentation, the facilitation. The government agreed that differentiation the pace. We agreed that without the pound agree that differentiation the pound conflict state to live black conscience we are every tribal other teach their own affiliations. And then my first argument, the dumb history that the profiting youth nationalist narrative after achieving not country is a broken within single share to story defined as one nation under one flag rather than collection of branded vacant at the my secondly it promotes industrialist legislation for the post-conflict state to surface citizens must through the new government at the law of law to dumb history inflation important that state elevation that institution with the only episcopality are the main piece, and thirdly, the bottom of history risk micro-regulation where textbook focus on specific local aggression from the participants of the victim in the peak, the cycle of the rate heard allowed that community level making localization like the impossible and then dump history cat stability inside by focusing on structural causes, economy or the broad political shift, we depress nation the conflict disallowed the young to learn about the war without the feeling the need to blame their newborn for what the grandfather did. And then firstly, there is issue that education standardization. The rebuting the state ministry of education that the need clear curriculum manage the thousand of bottom of rule history into the context next politician impossible that prompt the cherry picking local elites and then the top down is politics the global citizens. The understanding how state the international law and global histories help post-conflict, the post-conflict tradition the international community rather than stuck privileged government and the mass competitive victim bottom historian offered through into the context who are suffering more discredit of the trauma that the state cannot manage that only serve election the group will be story that's correct. And eighthly, the objectives of ammunition bottom account that subjective and the ammunition the with the validated sociology and the context of nation history textbook that the racial allocation that the beast operates the tube history that is academy rigor right and then the term history the supported collection patriotism we need students to be loyal to this contention that the West democrat the value to dumb felicity the focus that kids fit as rather than the missing often under democrat struggle of the local group is the tenly the prevent the globalization of the races and the many effect the past failing the setting bottom of the heroes that the often local women view the marriage of the list to dump allow that state to filter out the glares and deflation with the painful state building and then the dump the history providing the mere work for the future progress and the way to show the country can move from a love the state vocation the state this the move pressing the living the student hope and the sense of the direction with the often lose that they try to get detail the bottom account and then the moves the social condition to be the conflict at the country ensure that the generation doesn't not the war by implying that the conscious state rather the member can attest that feeling of the chance and then the we need student loyalty to be to the new constitution that democracy value that two narrative focus that the fictionalization rather than messy often under democrat struggle of loyal and then the many post-conflict setting bottom heroes are often linked over elections that to bear all of that the state or to filter out the coalition at the first for it painful state building. The elevenly to dumb history provide the framework for the future progress. It show how country can move more the bad state vocation that the state this micro micro that student hope send of decoration with the upper slows, the tragic detail of the bottom account, and the masculine social conscious, the automation that profit conflict textbook is to ensure that the next generation does not go to war by ambition over the identity, the city of the state, whether the members of the Jews for fitness group we are useless, and then this make sure that respecting the give student hope and sense of the region with the often lose the struggle detailed of bottom the account, and then the many post-conflict setting bottom heroes that local logis arrivals like the municipal elections, and then DOP allows the state to filter on the generation of affiliation for the painful state building, and then it should show the country that move the first state and the second state. This macro the perfect is a give student hope beginning of the students like detail the Parkers, and then the must conversation social the cover and the method the conflict textbook is the new that the generation does not go to war by emplacing those identity the cityness, and then of state the rather the member of the state or the affiliation the group and the will lasting the peace, and then the down history profit the mere works of the and the future progress, and then the seven we must the preferred competition the victim the biggest history for often dodge the context is the clearly history of the trauma that's narrative the cannot manage, and that only surface the live the group will their story was a tool, and then the bottom account that's incredibly is the subjective and the emotional that sociology and the context of nation history textbook the reader collection and the fact based of the true the history that ensure the academic recon, and then we need just the understanding how the state interest international that's we why the history held the conflict nation international competitive rather than being stuck province at the conversion, and then the manage the curriculum that minute the thousand of bottom royal history into the conflict textbook logically impossible and the prompt to cherry picking by local elite, and the understanding how the state interaction with international and the global history help the post-conflict and the rather the president regulation, and my conclusion and judges today my conclusion in the summary will the government side over the romantic the view of history, the opposition over the pragmatic the base of two peace. We cannot the luxury the pregnant the true the house till the fire, and then the must conflict the social conscience the must ultimately that the base the conflict textbook the notion that the next generation does not go through the war by the ambition of identity the citizens of the state the rather the member of the state of the claimants of the group that we ensure the lasting the peace, and then the top down is show the country can move from the field state the focusing state. This macro the perfect teaching give the student hope and the scene decoration at the count and then this reason, and then thank you for your attention.